We'll give it a minute to let people come on in. I feel like I can bring this down further. Let me see. Hey, everybody. There we go. That's better. So hey guys, I'm recovering from surgery this week, so I'm probably not going to get out a video. So I thought I would take the opportunity to walk you through something fun, and we can check this out together. So this is a Nintendo Gameplay Counselor binder. So if you have been around here for any length of time, you will know that Nintendo Gameplay Counselors were folks that answered the phones at Nintendo at the Powerline call center, and they would give people tips on how to pass their favorite video games, and in that way, they got you to buy more video games. So this is actually one of 5 binders that I have. This particular binder was labeled when I got it as the Top Maps binder. So you can see there, it says Top Maps. This was basically the go-to binder for this counselor. So this is all the games that either they needed the most help with, or that things that they didn't know off the top of their head, or things that were the most popular. So I just figured we'd go through some of this, and you could see exactly what a Nintendo Gameplay Counselor would be using to help people on the phones in the 80s and 90s. So this actually starts out with a walkthrough for Link to the Past. It's very step by step. Step 1 here is get the lamp. So it goes literally step by step on how to walk through at a top level the entire game. So here you can see it goes through receive the pendant of courage, receive the pendant of power, and then you go through here, and here's the into the dark world, and then it goes continually, keeps going. This is all the counselor had a printout and then annotated it themselves. So what's that say? Oh, Helmus Arcane. It's basically pointing out that you can use the bomb or the hammer to get the helmet off. This was a handwritten note by the counselor. It says bomb or hammer helmet off. It keeps on going until you get to defeat Ganon, which was step 92. So how to beat Link to the Past in 92 easy steps. Going forward, this is some maps for the Link to the Past. This is obviously the overworld maps. These look like just printed screenshots. This is a map key to basically tell the counselor how to read the map, and this link here is hand drawn. Can you guys see this okay? I know it's a little bit glary from the... It's got protector. It's in a protector. You know what? I have an idea. Hold on. All right. Is that less glary? I think it might be. Cool. So these are all very rudimentary kind of vector maps for Link to the Past. Palace 3. So these ones, as we go through this book, you'll see that there are definitely different styles of how these maps were drawn. Sometimes they were drawn in like a CAD program like this one, or sometimes they're hand-drawn as well. This is continuing all the maps. More maps, 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 maps. This is all Link to the Past. Okay, then we get to the original Legend of Zelda. And this is the first quest. It was better before? All right. I can go back. Okay. So again, here, this looks like a screenshot map. I'm trying to see where it may have come from. They may have cut this out of the guide. Sometimes, depending on the timeline of how these maps were put together, sometimes they would pull them from existing material. So this is probably the tips and tactics map for the overworld. But these are hand-created tables. Good old swastika map. Probably going to get demonetized for saying that. It's okay. I'll bleep myself when I repost it. Yeah, so these are all maps. So these are the kinds of things that I like that are interesting. So these are like cheat sheet cards, and these are obviously all very much hand-drawn. But these are cheat sheets for Quest 1 and Quest 2 that this counselor drew on index cards. As cool as like the photocopied stuff is, the actual hand-drawn stuff is really, really neat. And I find stuff like this, you know, when I acquire binders and things like this is the kind of stuff that I find tucked away. These were literally just back here. So it looks like this is a photocopy of these. So likely what happened was the counselor made these by hand and then photocopied them and then distributed them to the rest of the counselors. So in all likelihood, other counselor books would have this page in here, but these are the originals. Quest 2, going to be very similar to Quest 1. So this is okay. So this is what I call a photocopied original, but so this is the original of this was hand drawn, but this is a photocopy. So this is a hand drawn map that's then been colored in with colored pencil. Sometimes the counselors would either do this to actually help them. Sometimes they would do it out of boredom. There was a lot of downtime sometimes, and they would shade their maps like this. You can see again the blank or the base map that was copied and given to them, and then they shaded it in and added hand notes. I wonder how, I mean, I guess for Legend of Zelda 2, this is more helpful, but like these are all just essentially blank rooms. Link's Awakening for the DMG. I haven't actually seen all these. So sometimes when the map maker would make these and then leave maps for the other counselors. So here it says, here are some basic maps for Zelda DMG. Unfortunately, these maps may lack the detail needed to assist callers, but their main purpose is to help aid you in completing the game. Add whatever you think is necessary to make the maps work best for you. More detailed maps will be available in the future. Thanks. Wow. This is very, very tiny.
Very tiny.
Very tiny. Piper has joined us, everyone. I don't know how well you guys can see that, but it's very, very small.
Very small.
And then this looks like,
Whoa.
is this? Yeah, so this is the actual map, and then this is a grid corresponding to it with a labeled grid saying where everything is in relation to this map. And then here's the more broken out. Baby, please don't do that.
Fine.
Thank you. Please stop.
No, you.
I love you, but if you can't be quiet, you have to leave.
No.
That's the rule.
Fine.
Thank you, love. I love you.
I love you too.
Catfish's mom. So these are a little bit more detailed. Sorry, I missed something somebody said. Yeah, it's thankfully most of these counters at the time were in their early 20s, so they had no problem reading the small print. Me, on the other hand, I have a little bit more trouble. Turtle Rock. All right, here, this is Super Metroid. So again, we start with a walkthrough with some maps intermingled. This actually looks like it's got maps in it. Oh, I see. Yeah, so this is double-sided. This actually says trainee guide up here. So likely this was the walkthrough that was used to train the counselors on Super Metroid. Here's a cheat sheet for items found in the various areas. What's up, Nintendo fan? Sorry. Even now, sometimes when I'm going through stuff in these books, I find things that I didn't know were there. Like that cheat sheet on the back of this map I didn't know was actually there. Yes and no. The question is whether or not these will be scanned. The reason that, so essentially when I scan these, I have to watermark them because it's similar to, if anybody caught my my video on the Pokemon style guide that I just released, when I scanned that, I did put a copy watermark over it. Because the thing is that, when I'm scanning art, that's totally different because it's unmistakable the difference between a painted original and a copy of a painted original. These, however, the originals are photocopies. So it would be very easy for someone to take a scan of this book, print it, and then sell it off as original. And I have seen these binders go for like $6,000 a binder. And so I am not, especially now with as hot as like the retro scene is, I am not in the position to be responsible for an aftermarket, like counterfeit market for this book. Because if somebody got ripped off for 5 figures or 4 or 5 figures, I would feel very guilty about that. So as far as being able to read them, I will absolutely scan them at some point. As you might imagine, I have 5 binders and there's a lot here. So I don't know what the timeline will be because it's just a lot of work to physically scan them. But when they are released, they will be released with watermarks. And again, that's just to prevent very expensive fakes floating around. So here we're continuing on. This is all more one more walkthrough for Super Metroid. Here's the overworld map. Whoa, we just jumped to a new game here. Okay, so here's where Super Metroid ends. This is Metroid 2 DMG. Here's the basic overworld map. And then you get, again, into very hand-drawn maps. These, again, are copies, but what normally would happen, again, as I mentioned, a counselor, a single counselor would draw out a map on their downtime, or, a lot of times the counselors would use drawing maps as an excuse to get off the phones, because after you're on the phone with 8-year-olds all day, you kind of want a break, and so it would be a good excuse for them to get off the phones by drawing maps. So oftentimes a counselor would draw a map by hand and then copy it and then distribute it to the rest of the counselors. This is really cool. Metroid 2. This is the original Metroid, but it certainly looks like it was pulled from an existing guide. Yeah, because it starts with page 55, so it's definitely a existing guide. I'm sure one of you can tell me which. But yeah, like I said, for some games, if the material is already established, even if it's really old, like for instance the Ultima NES games, for the counselor guides for those, it's just photocopies of the PC strategy guides that had been out for years prior. What do we got here? Oh god. Oh. Yeah, see, like here for the Adventures of Lolo, they literally just put in an Adventures of Lolo strategy guide. It's like, I'm pretty sure this is just a retail strategy guide.
No.
Yep, just a retail strategy guide. But for Lolo 2, they did draw them by hand. So here's an interesting note. Right here it says, note corrections in Elmo have been made. So Elmo was the electronic database that basically took over this resource. Once the internet started to be a thing and computers were more readily accessible, the counselors had a digital database in which most of this content was scanned in and or added in by hand. But then, there would be discrepancies because now all of a sudden this is the outdated version. So here you can see a note from the counselor saying corrections in Elmo have been made. So signifying that this is basically an outdated resource. These are really cute though. Like these
Aw, so cute.
these little drawings are really cute.
Aw, so cute. Aw, so cute.
So these are photocopied but then shaded by hand. And again, I don't think this this shading doesn't have any like gameplay advantage to it. This is just like, oh, let me color in the river. Lots and lots of Lolo 2. It all looks very similar. Yeah, it gets really fun when you have an artist, when you get an artist that's really good. Lolo 3. I mean, I'll just skim through these. Do you really need to see page by page all these Lolo maps? They're Lolo maps, I promise you. What do I got next? Castlevania 2. So these are all maps for Castlevania 2. I mean, obviously they're maps. I love I love this. Nothing!
Nothing.
Nothing!
Nah. Ah. Nothing.
Crystallis.
Crystallis.
So, if anyone is familiar with my gameplay counselor panel from the Portland Retro Gaming Expo, and if you are not, you should go watch that. It is on this channel.
No.
Just look for PGRE or PRGE 2019 gameplay counselor panel. But Casey Pelkey, who, as you can see here, it says, these truly awesome maps were made by Casey Pelkey. Casey Pelkey was on that panel. He was an amazing map maker for the gameplay counselors. But first, we have some very hand-drawn or very handwritten maps. And these are actually original. So you can see they're extremely scrawly. So this would be just a case where the counselor wasn't getting enough. What's up, Toon Gump? Thanks, man. This would be an example of when the counselor just wasn't getting enough information from the assets provided, and they just needed more and went and did it themselves. These binders were very much a community resource, so generally it would be whoever was the expert on a particular game, because you couldn't, at a certain point, the counselors couldn't be, please do not touch that. The counselors couldn't be experts on everything because there were just too many games. So, yeah, so this is what, like, this page was probably then copied and added to all the binders. So you would probably, in other examples of the Castlevania 2 cover, or sorry, Crystallis cover, or Crystallis coverage in someone else's binder, you would probably find photocopied copies of these pages. Here are the maps made by Casey Pelkey. So this is a mix of actual screenshots, but if you can, these were definitely, like, he took photographs of the TV, and I don't know if you can see how uneven the lines here are. So he photographed, and you can see, like, the color inconsistency. Let's see how, like, there, around there, it's all very inconsistent in color. That's because what's happening here is they're taking actual photographs and then cutting them up and piecing them together. And that's why you can see also the edges here are not consistent at all. On top of this, he also drew these by hand. And then it looks like this is cut out of the instruction manual. I love this I love this lettering because it's you know, like from a ruler, you know, like the plastic rulers that have the stencils in them. I just love that, like, you know, you could probably find maps like this, you know, that a kid drew folded up in any random copy of Crystallis, and it just it makes me kind of laugh, and I think it's really endearing that like this was also the level of um, production that Nintendo first party was using. Again, these are. That's not screenshots. This is screenshots. This is screenshots. This is hand drawn. This is hand drawn. These are hand drawn. Hand drawn. Fortress of Goa! You can always tell when someone was especially proud of their maps because they signed them. So Casey actually has signed these maps here and here. All right, so now we're getting into Dungeon Master. This is back to like the CAD program. I'm not sure what program they were using, but it was some sort of CAD drawing program. This looks handmade. I mean, with like a typewriter. That's like clip art. Prepare to meet your doom.
Prepare to meet your doom.
Was it scary, Piper?
Yes.
So yeah, they've got for each of these rooms they have a CAD drawing of the floor and then a very detailed item list for where everything is. That's like super MS Paint. Like some of these are like sketched, but you got to see this. This is like very much MS Paint. See if I can get a focus on that for you. Maybe not. Oh well, I tried. But yeah. Yeah, for a lot of these RPGs, I mean the guides had to be very, very extensive. Some more hand notes. This looks like from an existing guide just because it says Sony Image Software right on it. Although here it says, here are some basic Equinox maps that should give you a good idea of how each level looks. It is highly recommended to play through the game and highlight the difficult areas, and also draw in blockades wherever you find them. Thanks, the GPC Elmo team. So again, this was a note from the digital database team, reminding people to kind of fill in their own custom stuff as needed. More Equinox maps. We're coming up to the end. Again, I have 5 of these. But this was just I like this binder because it's got a bunch of random stuff in it. Because it was the top maps binder for the counselor. So it was kind of a personal kind of hot list of the games that they were that they had either had a tough time with and needed more help on, so they needed maps more, or more popular stuff. So this is okay. This goes from Equinox to Shadowgate, but there's just the one page on Shadowgate. Yeah, this Shadowgate. Uh-oh, we lost a Oh, this is Dungeon Master. I'll put that
What
back. These tabs, by the way, are terrible, and they fall off all the time. Yeah, I guess there was only one page for Shadowgate. It says Shadowgate 1 of 1. So this was the only resource that they had for Shadowgate. And then same thing for Uninvited. Oh, this is all hand. I don't know enough about Uninvited to know if this is for it. But this is definitely this has got to be for Uninvited, right? Does this map look like it kind of fits? Maybe. I don't know. Sometimes this isn't, it's been 30 years, so sometimes these aren't the most well organized. Stuff like this I could probably scan without watermarking it, because again, it would be easy to tell the difference between this original and a photocopy. But yeah, anything that's photocopied I have to watermark before I release it. Next Generation, I think this is the last one, right? Yeah. Following maps have been provided to offer further assistance with the quick play in GPC Elmo. So this is, in the Elmo database, there was a quick play guide. And so these maps would be an aid to that walkthrough. So some parts of the quick play make references to these maps, which should help you visualize where a consumer or yourself may be experiencing some difficulties in the game. The rest of the maps for this game can be located in Nintendo Power. Please see Volume 59, pages 18 through 27. So, yeah, that's just, it is what it is. Sometimes you would be calling in these counselors, and their special resource would be to just look in the magazine. I do have Solstice maps, but not in this book. Yeah, I'm not going to go through all 5 of these tonight. I'm just going through the one, because I think it's cool enough to dole it out into different content, and then maybe this is obviously a live stream. I may do an actual produced video and drag out the DSLR and really get you some nice shots of the book and that kind of thing. But like I said, I am recovering from surgery this week, and so I didn't want to not get content out. So this is sort of my sorry I am in pain and healing video.
Daddy?
Mm-hmm.
I'm back. Back to my unicorn.
Note there are lots of phaser and life power-ups throughout the ship. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it was a minor surgery, but it's still, this is day 2, so it's still, I still hurt.
Bam.
There you go. That, my friends, is the last page of this Top Maps book. So yeah, I have 4 more books that are roughly the same size. There is still, if you're wondering if I have every map ever made, no. These books were very iterative, and so depending on when at what point the person who has them worked for Nintendo, their map books are going to be different. The set that I have was put together right before they retired them. So essentially what happened was there was a small group of counselors who saw basically Nintendo was going away and recycling the map books. They were going completely over to Elmo. And And so, again, Elmo is the digital database. So they were converting the department completely to the digital database. And so they were going through and they were essentially taking these map books out of cubicles and recycling them. And so what a intrepid band of 4 or 5 counselors did was they got together. Let me sit down. They got together and they decided, hey, we should definitely save these. And so they essentially scrambled to put together the most complete set that they could put together out of the sets that happened to be in the cubicles that they could find. So so I have probably the most complete set out there. But having said that, there's still a bunch of like early games. Like I don't have walkthroughs for the black box games, for instance. And so that's something that I'm always on the lookout as a black box binder. And that would sort of complete my set, I think. But yeah, so I just wanted to kind of give a walkthrough on what these binders are and what's in them. Again, I've got 4 more, so we'll definitely do more videos on these. Or I may do deep dives on some of the content. I mean, I did kind of flip through these pretty quickly, and it was still 36 minutes. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of walkthrough. Again, this is my apology for not getting content out this week. As I heal from minor surgery, I will be fine, but thank you for the concern. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I will see you around.
Say bye.
Bye. Do you want to say bye?
Yes. Bye.